Okay. Welcome back to
FlopSquad.
another episode of the FlopSquad.
Welcome back.
And today, yeah, honestly, let's take a moment.
Is that how you guys?
I actually like that though.
Guys,
That's
yeah.
how we start.
We have a guest today.
No,
You're
it's
just
different
out here
though. It's different.
embarrassing
It's different.
us.
Well,
Okay,
That name is unique. I'm not gonna lie.
Flop Squad.
Catch us, the
That's
Flop
unique,
Squad.
man.
it is a unique name.
Yeah,
it means
Flop Squad.
it means a lot to us as well.
Yeah, because
Any
life
particular
isn't
reason?
about flopping, and you
Yeah.
need to embrace your flops.
You know what? In the
I
New
make
Year's
a squad
episode,
out of
you need
them.
to go listen to the New Year's episode because we explained it in the New Year's episode
Yeah.
Okay.
what it means.
Yeah, you
That
need
one's
to update yourself.
I need to like and subscribe and all that.
100%.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's supposed to
like
be
and subscribe,
main
the Flop
character.
Squad.
I love that. We're doing this backwards. Let me introduce our guest today. We've got a guest with us. My good brother, author, writer, and just all around intellect. What are you laughing at? Intellect. He's actually his
Thank
intellect.
for
You
the
know what I mean?
introduction, man.
And Mohammed, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having
Woo!
me.
Pleasure to have you on, brother.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add to your long accolades of achievements?
No, I'm just the guy from Acton, you know.
Just from ends.
Yeah, just from Ed's.
From the
man.
Eds.
Just the guy from ends that
Yeah.
writes stories. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, like I never, especially like when I'm networking and things like that. When people ask you, "What do you do?" I'm thinking in my head like, "What should I say?" So I just tell them like, "Yeah, I'm just a guy from London, trying to make a living."
Oh, like that's the most humility. Humility.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Humility
sure
is
you,
killing my
like,
people.
You choose what to say depending on who you're talking to.
Yes.
Because if you're talking to someone like they'll probably understand what you do, then you'll be like, "Hey, this is what I do."
Yeah.
But if
yeah,
you're talking to just like
yeah.
Nah, do you know
a
what it is?
random someone,
If
you'll
you
be
talk,
like,
what if you're talking to somebody that like could potentially like be an opportunity? You're not gonna be like, I'm just a guy from.
Oh yeah.
It
London.
Like you assess. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You assess the situation.
You know what I'm saying?
if comes out,
Because if that's what you would do,
Get my
with
cards out. Hey. Start dishing it out like it's Pokemon cards. Yeah.
exactly, you're out
how you do it,
here
innit?
reciting your CV. You know what I mean? Talking about
Of course, yeah.
I'm
But
a-
it depends. You assess. But you know how Somalis are. Like, I don't know if you know about Somalis, but when you network with them, especially the older generation, you say to them, "Oh, what do you do?" They mention things that they've done in 2006.
That's
From 2006
They always go back
all
in
the
it.
way until now. And you're
I
like,
was a
"Bro,
professor. I was
I didn't ask you the whole
I
Marlon.
didn't ask
story.
this, yeah. Like, what do you do now? Like,
Yeah, 100%. No. They give you a long list of like things that they don't even do.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'm known
They're
as the
preserving
professor. I'm
past.
the
They remind you
community
that-
leader. I'm just like all these like self-assigned.
Yeah, well, like community
Roles.
activist. I'm like, the word activist has been abused in our Somali community. You hear activist in everyone's bio.
minding everyone's business.
No disrespect
is
to anyone who
being
is an
active.
activist.
I have
Like
been
Zoza, for
disrespected.
example.
I'm
Nah,
struggling.
but minding everyone's business is being active. I'm sorry, just not the way you're being active, but
There's a different
I
type of
respect.
activism.
Yeah, exactly.
I respect.
A different type of activism. How are you doing though? How are you doing?
Yeah,
Everything
I'm
blessed?
good. Yeah, everything's good, man. Alhamdulillah. Apart from the cost of living, everything's all right.
Is it that bad yet?
Oh, from the cost of living.
But yeah, everything's alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
Nah, it's good to hear. Alhamdulillah. You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. We're all right. As apart from the fact that yesterday we
God,
find ourselves
yesterday.
in a situation trying to get to
Sticky
this
one
podcast. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What happened?
So, it took us how many hours to get here, Nadia? How many
6
hours?
hours, 7 hours, maybe 8.
No, do you know what's really funny? Yeah, at some point I thought to myself, this podcast isn't supposed to be recorded. Zamzam, turn back, go home. Literally, I was like, in that point, I would be happy to go home.
Yeah.
Daddy's like, nah, we gotta go, we gotta do this. But yesterday, there was Nadia, what happened? Explain it, because I'm gonna laugh.
Hate the fact that you're doing this.
I'm gonna
What did
laugh.
she say to me before we started the podcast? And then what is she doing now?
Yeah.
I said, do you know what I said to her? I said, don't get cancelled.
Oh my goodness.
I said, tell the story, we don't get cancelled.
No, it's actually like a really like sad story. Basically, there was a guy trying to commit suicide, and everything was, of course, blocked. And we were there for like 2-3 hours. The only thing that really upset me is like we didn't get more information from the guy. Like we don't know if he's okay. I tried searching online morning. There's nothing in the news. No one knows. I swear to God, Tom. I swear to God.
That was a concerning thing for you.
But of course it was concerning. Of course.
Basically, right, guys.
No, but it was though. I actually wanted to
And
find out
Zamzam,
what
what were you
happened.
doing when you heard the
Listen,
Yeah, good question. I like you, Mohammed. Carry on. You're doing great.
Listen,
Should invite you more often.
I was documenting the moment. That's what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? I was documenting the moment.
That's a good-
Because you know what
that's
it was, yeah?
a
Like
diplomatic answer.
the train conductor, he sounded so fed up with
Yeah,
life
he was
at that point. He was
done.
like, so guys, I'm gonna update you. There has been train delays again. The time is not clear right now. And it was like,
You need to do the briefing.
Or maybe he was in shock.
he was
No, he
literally
was
fed up.
done.
Like
Oh, he's fed up.
his
He was
voice, he was like
done.
done. He was like, we'll let you know when we have more information. The transport police has attended to the scene. There's a male suicidal. Hopefully he'll be reprimanded and
At which station?
we'll
was
be able
this?
to continue with our day.
Um,
So we got stuck
Macclesfield.
in Macclesfield.
Okay,
Do you know what that
I'm
is?
gonna act like I
As a
know what this-
Londoner, you're not gonna know what that is. Also, I just want to at all Londoners, get out of London.
yes.
Just in general.
They don't know
It's a
nothing.
disclaimer. Let's get it out there. Get out of London. The United Kingdom, well, big place.
Go breathe in some fresh
Big
air.
place. You know what I mean? Beautiful places. Edinburgh, mashallah. Do you know what I mean? Manchester, great city in the world. Anyways, that's a different story.
But it had to be said.
We got stuck in Macclesfield, bro.
And someone wanted to commit suicide in
In,
Macclesfield.
in Crewe.
Bridge.
So it was
They were on
basically
the
it was like it was a
bridge.
bridge. I think from Macclesfield to Crewe,
Yeah.
and that's like a main like route, I think, and they closed off the entire thing. Anyways, yeah. So I'm like, I thought I had this like smart idea of like getting off the train.
Yeah.
Right. Let's grab a cab.
That's
to
where the
Crewe.
flop came.
So I'm thinking
Yeah,
I'm on it.
Thinking ahead, yeah.
I've outsmarted the system.
Without realizing,
Because we
a
were
lot of
stuck.
people getting out
We were stuck on that
also.
train for so long,
lot of
and it
people
wasn't
think like
moving.
you.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, everybody thought like me because I got off at Macclesfield. There's probably like 10 taxi drivers. Okay, tell me why not single Uber, no Bolts, no taxis, and we call a local taxi company, and we'll be able to get a taxi to you in the hour. We're gonna do in an hour,
Yeah.
Won't be here
literally.
in an
So what did we
hour.
do?
Got back on the train.
Got back on the train.
Oh,
Got back on the train, and then what did we do? We headed to Stockport,
Yeah.
and then from Stockport we took a train.
Finally.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. But
To
you know what?
London.
Let's just say a 2-hour journey took us 6 hours yesterday.
Yeah.
6
It was
hours.
long, especially when you have
Patience,
plans.
innit? Patience was tested.
Yeah, well,
Sabr.
Yeah, sabr,
Yeah.
man.
That's
Had
when I
to-
realized that I'm actually like a quite like persistent person.
Yeah,
Well, that's good,
I was
man.
ready to go
Yeah,
home.
that's good, man.
Now, do you know what it is? Yeah, do you know what? For me, I'm the kind of person. Yeah, if too many things go wrong, there's a sign
Not
here.
meant to be.
Do you know what I mean? I'm good to turn back.
Yeah, it is.
'Cause,
what it
like,
is.
That's actually a lie.
No, because remember, I lost.
Now, do you know what? That's actually a
Because
lie.
the first thing that happened, no, the first thing that happened is I left my charger. I left my laptop charger. I'm supposed to be working in London all week this week, and I have no laptop charger.
Oh,
It's a MacBook. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna buy a brand new MacBook charger when I got 2 at home. Do you know what I mean? So I'm thinking, I was like, sign number 1. Do you know what I mean? And then this happens. I'm thinking,
Uh-oh.
Sign number 2.
God is telling me turn back now.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Do you know what? That's a lie.
What?
Because actually, I'm not gonna mention here because I feel like we don't have to mention that in here.
Not even just
But we
out
mention
here.
that outside, and then you'd be like,
Are you afraid to get cancelled?
Huh?
Are you afraid to get cancelled?
No. Oh,
Is
Nah,
that-
you know what? Yeah, she exists. Can't like to expose me. That's what it is.
Oh.
Nah.
Is that what it is?
nah.
Expose. I know what it is. I know what time it is. It's all right. I know what time it is.
But anyways,
Anyways, guys, I just wanted to rant about that. Do you know what I mean? A little bit of sympathy.
it's
know
a
what I
little
mean?
bit.
Just a little bit of sympathy. But you know what? It
And
was
if anyone knows what happened to the guy, please do let me know
dedication to this pod.
because that should be.
That happens very often, by the way.
I know he does that. In the morning when I checked, suicidal guy, Macclesfield.
Best story.
There was
ever.
there was a lot
Oh, you
of
saw it?
stories.
No,
A
there's loads of
lot
stories. It happens often, isn't it?
Suicidal stories.
It
Yeah.
happens often. It happens very
Yeah.
often.
So I was like, damn, how am I supposed to find which one was yesterday?
And then you have the TFL that like stops everything if there's like a leaf on the freaking trail. But that's
Yeah.
It's a different story, anyways. So guys, today's podcast isn't about me ranting about trains.
Nope, it's not.
It's not.
It's not about sad stories.
But pay the workers. Anyways, it's about
That was a nice.
little bit
Smooth
smooth,
little-
innit?
Yeah.
It's
Smooth
You gotta put it out there.
I'm unionized to the core. Now it's actually about culture. It's conversation about culture, and like I thought, who better to talk to about encapsulating culture, preserving culture, than the very storyteller himself.
blah, 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 blah.
Do you know what I mean? I felt like, Zibzim, you're onto something great here. Do you know what I mean? That's something great. But no, and I thought actually let's like start off at the very beginning, because actually culture itself is subjective. Like we were talking about this yesterday, and I think we have very different perceptions of culture. Actually, quite recently I did a whole thing on like fashion and subcultures and how that affects like culture and all of that. So like actually like culture itself is subjective. So like how do you define culture? Like is there a particular way that you would define it?
I think for me, it's culture is when, like, you know, groups of people are preserving a certain aspect of a particular sort of aspect of culture, and they're preserving it and holding on to it, and they're basically using that as a way of trying to identify themselves with that particular culture, whether it's a particular artifact or type of music or a type of poetry. It's just something to hold on to for them.
So are you saying, is it like culture is preserving certain things the society make? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so like as groups of people, they follow a particular type of and then
culture for you is what they preserve.
Yeah, so something that's preserved, and it's preserved on a collective basis, and it's agreed upon everyone. Like there's a consensus with it.
Yeah.
And then that's
That's
how
actually an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Yeah.
Because you kind of just look at it like culture as like just a bunch of like things happening, and you know, it's just like there's different things, and you know, we're against it or we're for it, or you don't really think as in like, you know, we collect different things from different parts of time in society, and then
it's the thing of like, because you can't have culture if it's not collectively agreed on. It's not culture, then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like because like what makes something culture is like it's something that all of us perceive to or attain to.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So that makes it culture. And that's
also something that's like passed down.
Yeah.
So like if you're looking at it from a tribal perspective, and you know, your father tells you, oh, this is something that your grandfather did, and it's passed down to generations. So in a way, there's a certain aspect of culture, if you're from that particular tribe or people, whatever, it's passed down. So something that's held on to from the very beginning until the present. That's one way of looking at it as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
How would you define it? Would you define it differently?
No, I just never actually like thought about it.
What culture is?
Do you know, because like it's like, because I'm from Angola, but I'm so Portuguese, and then I've lived in the UK most of my life. So like for me, like it's not even like I look at it as in like, oh, that's part of my culture. I just like that's part of my, it's what I do day to day. You know, I don't really see as like, you know, as in like, oh, I'm preserving something or I'm not. It's just what I do.
Yeah.
So that's why
history plays a part to play as well. So
yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, obviously, as much as we can claim to be British, we're not.
Yeah, 100%.
So, you know, then you ask the question, oh, where am I from? And then your parents are from a particular area. So then you go through their history, and then it's just the whole like.
Yeah, you find out different things.
I feel the way I see it is culture is like the root, and everything else that happens to history, the things that have happened, the people. Whether it's politically, economically, religiously, or anything, it's just branches.
Yeah.
So I feel like,
but all of those become like subcultures in itself, right? Like religion and like your tribe, for example, and like all of these different factors, they become like subcultures of that particular like that tree itself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's interesting because I think. Because I think it's always like it depends on like the way you think about it, right? Like or like which like standpoint you have. Because I've always like one of the things that I've always been like conscious about is like when we talk about identity, right? And how fuses with our culture. And you've probably heard this multiple times.
Yeah.
This whole thing of like we have what is it, confused identity or like lost identity.
Yeah, we hear that as well.
I feel like
I don't feel like I have a lost identity.
No, I don't at all.
Mean?
I think.
But why is that assigned to us as like a diaspora?
I think there's so many reasons to this. But I think from
Let's unpick it. Let's go.
yeah, this might be controversial, but I think with particular like Danyoro, like young people,
Yeah.
they have this like, because the problem is our parents didn't really teach the kids the culture or give them a sense of like, hey, like this is where you're from. Give them a sense of like, hey,
Belonging.
like you're belonging. Exactly, that's the
Right.
word.
Yeah.
They didn't give them that. I wouldn't want to generalize, but I would say like maybe more than 50%, which is a
Wow.
big chunk anyway.
Yeah, it's a big percentage.
So I think with these people, so then they like, okay, like, you know, where am I from? And then they try to find their way. And a lot of the Somali, like, you know, groups of people in the UK, they don't live in like great environments. So the hostile environment and the environment that's not really good, the kids are the environment takes over. And the kids don't know and the parents don't know what's going on. And then it's like, okay, this is where I belong now. I belong in the streets.
Yeah.
And then it's another, the music as well, all this ala'al, all this music and like all the words that are saying, yeah, I'm a rapper, this and guns blazing. And then the kids are looking at that and they think that this is like,
their culture.
this is their culture.
This is what,
yeah.
but the
Do you know what?
roots.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because I think you can belong to different cultures or like identify with multiple cultures while still having your identity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think like this is because that's the interesting thing when I think about it, in the sense of like it roots from a sense of belonging. Because if you don't have like if you don't feel Somali anymore, like from being the way you're raised, right, and like Somali is just being like feeling Somali, right, then how are you gonna look for that sense of belonging somewhere else, and that's all it is, isn't it?
That's
it's like
exactly
they're searching for that sense of belonging. And I think it's actually true when you say that, because I think I'm and I said this in like another pod, but like Allah yarhamah, my grandma raised us, like she used to live with us when we were younger, and like they always say that like your elders are the ones that like teach you culture. They teach you like, because my grandma, God rest her soul, but she used to be like, don't bring that foreign language into my house. Like she used to hate when we spoke English, because she was like, speak Somali to me, right? She'd tell us stories in Somali. She'd like sit us down, ask us things, tell us things. But the things that my grandma taught me is things that my parents, I've never spoken to my parents about. The kind of things that she would tell me, the kind of stories she would tell me, is like, my grandma is the one that, even like tribes, she used to make me like, what tribe are you from? Like, what's their sub-tribe? And then like, I had to memorize these things because I knew my grandma was going to quiz me on it, right?
Yeah.
And like, I remember when she left, I was like, yes, I never need to think about this stuff again. But it was even like like up to this on my name. Like, who's your name? So like going back, like all the way back. I'm not gonna expose myself in a punch.
Yeah,
Like,
no, yeah.
You need to know who my
Sorry,
uncles,
but-
grandfathers. I'm gonna have like 50 people be like, we're related.
Yeah.
But she'd tell me that, and the interesting is because with our names, right? It's like it's my father, my father's father, my father's 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 father. Like, so it just goes, and you kind of, if you're supposed to like memorize it like way back, because then you identify like who you are from that. Do you get it? Like my history is in my name, you know?
Yeah.
And you're supposed to carry that with pride. Like, it's a very Somali thing. You're supposed to carry that. You're supposed to know your name. You're supposed to know your tribe. Like, you're supposed to know who you are, right? But my grandma instilled that in me, like knowing who I am. My parents instilled like, because they brought us to Europe, right? They brought us to like, they raised us here, and they were more worried about like us, like succeeding in this environment, right? So they protected us from things, and like they pushed us academically. But I don't think my parents like were like, you're this tribe, you're this culture. Like my mom has never spoken to me about tribes, like ever, once. My father, he used to be like, just know like what sub-tribe you are, that's it, don't embarrass me. That's it. But he's like, just know that this is your tribe.
Yeah,
and then
that's it.
because you know what it was, yeah? It's like, with my dad, Allah, he was one of he's like similar to your dad. He knew everybody. Do you know what I mean? And so he was one of those people that were like, this is your uncle. This is your uncle. This is your uncle. And I had to be like, dad, pause. Is this a tribal uncle?
Yeah, or
It's a
blood
real
related.
uncle.
Yeah.
Like, what is he?
What's it, yeah. Most of it is tribe.
Most of it is tribal. It's like, yeah, he's from the same tribe. So it's the same tribe. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, I had to like identify. But So grandparents, I think, to a certain extent, like massively play a part in shaping your identity and like who you. Well, for me, anyways, like how Somali I felt, you know, and also the fact that I speak the language really well is from my grandmother.
Yeah.
She's from my grandmother. She made it by force. I had no choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
She had to preserve that in us, and I see it like now in my younger siblings, especially the one that was born like after my grandma passed away. His Somali is good, but it's not as great. Do you know what I mean? It's because he doesn't have that. I mean, we speak English to him all the time. We don't really help the situation.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Everything about it is just like, yeah, you hear the English language or any other language.
Yeah.
So his friends. So it's all, yeah. So your environment plays a big role. So if you're in an environment where the language is always there, your parents are speaking it, your work colleagues are speaking it, somehow, sooner or later, you're going to give in, you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to learn this
Especially when
language.
you're
I have
young.
no choice now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
so,
very true.
And
Pick
when you're
up
young,
quite fast.
exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
No, because kids, I stay with my cousins because they were all born here in the UK, and quick, like they're picking up English and Portuguese. At one point, they were mixing the two languages together at the same time.
Yeah,
It was beautiful.
yeah.
And then at one point, they forgot Portuguese, and then they remembered again. Like it was like the whole mixture of like learning a language within your family, because we speak Portuguese at home. So it's like when you go outside, it's English. So it's them like balancing both languages.
Yeah.
But I've never understood why like Scandi countries speak better Somali than here.
I think it's because in terms of like migration, UK Somalis have been here longer than the ones that are from Scandinavia.
No, but if you look at like because I'm not talking about that generation of people that came before. You're talking, if you look at the same generation of people that have come around the same time, still the Somalis, because I'm in that percentage of people that came later, right?
Okay.
And actually, like, because Somalis in Sweden, they speak Somali to each other, like in friendship groups. Like, it's weird to me. Like, they'll be like sat together and they'll be speaking Somali, but here, a group of Somali people sat together. We're not speaking Somali. We're speaking English.
It's true. And maybe it's also to do with population as well. Like we have, I think UK Somali's second biggest diaspora outside Somalia.
Very true, very true.
First is Minnesota.
Yep.
And I think Sweden is like ninth or something. Nowhere near.
Yeah, but it's
to
I
feel
think-
like you
but I think
belong
the
to a
size is
different.
quite it's very
so the
popular.
less people, so then you're just going to follow what, you know, if everyone's speaking Somali, oh yeah,
Yeah,
like,
it's
no
gonna
problem, you know.
follow.
But if there's like 250,000
Yeah.
Somalis in one country, you're going to
You
find
tend
pick
to.
and pockets. Those that speak it, those that don't know nothing,
I
those
hear
that
that.
know it fully, you're just going to come across a whole huge mix.
Do you know what? Sometimes I thought to myself, maybe it's something to do with the fact that the language itself, like the English language is an easy language to learn.
Yeah.
And like a lot of our parents speak it. Whereas
Yeah.
actually in Sweden, there's a big disparity between who speaks Swedish and who doesn't
I
speak
heard
Swedish.
Swedish is like a language that's so hard.
It's harder than English,
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
not hard. But
Every
I think,
language is harder than
but like
English.
I think
Which one?
Every language is harder than English.
Yeah.
yeah, English
Exactly,
is a
yeah.
very easy
Yeah,
language.
English
But like
is-
if you look at like all the Scandi countries, right? I think parents that can move there either have chosen not to learn the language, and I think that's maybe what's preserved the language.
Yes, that's a very, very good point.
'Cause-
Very good point.
I think our parents come here, English is a universal language, and they speak it to a certain extent before because a lot of our parents are educated before the war, right? Like,
Yeah.
so they spoke English, right? And I think it's because they can speak this language, and it's easier for them to speak this language because it practices. Because I remember my mum, when we were younger, she'd be like, she'd speak English to us so she can practice her English, you know? And that shifted and changed, but like, and I think a lot of people did that, a lot of parents did that. I think maybe plays a part in like
Yeah.
what the shift, because there's so much better than this. Whenever I go to Sweden and hang out with like some friends and they speak Somali, I'm like, oh, because they're telling jokes in
Sound like
Somali.
you're from
You know when
Yeah.
somebody's like doing riddles and jokes in Somali, you know the Somali's A1.
Yeah. When they and the Gabe poetry and they
oh,
understand it,
And they can like
Yeah.
explain to you like what it means,
what
and
it
I'm
means.
just
oh yeah, that's a new level.
like, that's like
Yeah, that's
you
new
know
level.
there
because
is
you know
the
like
real-
Yeah.
it's like Somali poetry, like Gabe's, they're like they use old Somali. It's like it's
Okay.
not like it's words that are like kind of dead in the language. So you're just like, what the hell is that word?
Yeah.
You know?
Even the music, like the Somali music, like that's out there, like the ones from back in the days. It's not same as like conversational Somali. It's totally different.
It is
So if you understand that, it's like whoa.
impressive.
You
Yeah.
are from far.
Yeah.
And how do you? Because you said you write stories, right?
Yeah.
So how do you choose? Like, how do you choose what parts of the culture to pick and put in your stories, and what parts not to? Like,
Yeah, that's a good
how
point.
do you come up? Like, how do you make your?
Yeah, that's
Because,
a
like I
good
said,
point.
the culture is quite huge. It's a
Yeah.
huge history.
I think.
So, how do you even start?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the stories that are within the Somali community is very similar. So if you're looking at a specific aspect like civil war, for example, a lot of Somalis have similar stories. So like the things that they say and the things that they've gone through is similar struggle. Maybe there are some that have gone through much worse than others.
Yeah.
Maybe some have decided to just, because there's some Somalis that have left before the war even began, before they even knew something was happening.
Yeah, 100%.
And they left and they were like, oh, I just want to enjoy life and see what's out there.
Yeah.
And then there are some that were forced to leave because of the war. And then there are some that decided to stay.
Yeah.
So I think from that length, you see a whole there's one aspect that's similar. And then within that, you see different stories of people saying different things. So for me, I look at the theme, and then from that theme, I branch out.
Right. So
Yeah.
what's being pointed out the most, and then you go on to that and.
Yeah, I mean, there are some stories like, this is controversial. Like, there are some stories that, basically, the way I look at it is, can this story be relatable, and can it bring the most impact? So I look at those two. And then there are stories out there who, with no due respect, I can't say to someone, oh yeah, your story, like, it's meaningless or whatever. I can't say that. So
You can think it.
It just won't make the same
yeah,
impact.
so in my head I'm like, if I share this, what would there be any like use? Because I always think like because obviously I don't really class this as my project. I'm more of a facilitator, because it's not me that's doing this, it's the people. So
Yeah.
I try to get
Encapsulating stories,
exactly.
yeah.
So I try to get people like stories that relate to people, bring the most impact. And then there are some stories where without any disrespect, I don't feel like it will be relatable or create impact. So yeah, it's been it's been a few.
But like, how much of that is like you being subjective? Because like you are gonna have a particular view. So like, you might read that and be like, this is not gonna be.
And then someone else will be like,
and then-
whoa.
and I'll read it and I'll be like, wow.
Yeah.
This has changed my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's true. It's
So
true.
you're like, how self-critical are you when you assess these things?
Do you have someone else working with you though?
Do you have anyone that
Someone
like
else.
peer reviews?
Yeah.
No, believe it or not, like
Seriously?
You do it
every
all by
story that I've
yourself?
shared, everything that I've done is just through me. Yeah.
Whoa.
Should,
Yeah. So I'm like, so
Making
I go through it
decisions, yeah.
every day, man. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, no. Yep, no. Okay, yeah, this is all right.
Did you go
So it's
from
become like,
That's interesting.
how do I explain this? Like,
It is your
I'm working at a cashier, so it's like, oh yeah. Hey,
That's what
excuse
I'm
me,
thinking.
you can't use this item.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Did you ever go for like a phase where you're like, nah, like, I'm not doing, something's wrong here. Like, I'm losing touch with what I'm doing, like this, Did you ever, because of course you're talking about culture, you're talking about different things. Probably you can't really go to that stage where you lose touch because, you're dealing with different stories every day.
Yeah.
But do you ever like
Yeah.
been
Like,
through?
there was a story like it was something that's taboo within our community, and that made me pause for a moment, because I didn't like, I was like, wait a second.
What was it?
Tell us.
It was basically someone was talking about their FGM experience.
Oh, okay.
So
Less taboo now, I think.
it still is, yeah.
Less taboo.
Less
now.
taboo, yeah. But
Yeah.
like this was like in 2016, so
Yeah.
I feel
Okay.
like back then it was
It was
like,
becoming less
yeah,
taboo at the time.
you know, people were
It's
like,
in discussion at the time.
yeah,
actually.
in discussion, exactly. So I was like, if I share this, what would happen? And yeah, basically I became a fully. I was scared,
Oh no.
and then I decided not to share it.
You should have shared it.
Looking back at it now, I wished I did. But I
Damn.
think, because for
Hindsight's
me,
a bad
like,
thing.
I always try to, because, okay, in the beginning when I was doing this project, I associated myself with the project
Yeah.
too much,
Okay.
to a point where, like, I saw myself with it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I realized that's detrimental, because I I was coming across with people, like people would be talking about it, and then some people would say like, you know, like, oh yeah, this project useless, or they'll say like negative things about it, and then it would hit me, like knock me out, like as if like Mike Tyson gave me a knockout.
No way.
Yeah, and I'm like, bro, how dare you? And then I
Yeah.
realized, bro, hold on a second.
It's not about you.
It's not about you.
Yeah,
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And then I detached myself from it.
And maybe you detached too. Did you go like from one extreme to the other?
Basically, yeah.
You can
And then
I'm at
you
the
had to
extreme
find.
now.
you
I'm
just
so
like-
detached from the project.
really?
Yeah, I'm like proper detached from it. Like now, I'm so
But I
detached.
feel like you have to go through that though. Like you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
especially
There has
when
to
you're
be
in
a
one
healthy
extreme, you tend
balance,
to go
though.
to the other until you create that.
But then where's the balance?
Oh no.
Because-
There has to be there has to be a healthy balance. But I feel like he will do it. It will happen like naturally. Like I feel like something will happen. Like you probably like get a story that you'll be like, you know what, this touched me, and like I feel like you go back and you create a balance. You won't go back to the other side of the extreme anymore,
Yeah.
because there's no way to go back anymore because you've been there. So I feel like you just naturally go back
Yeah.
into
Interesting.
Yeah.
the middle.
No. I think there's a thing of like, I think absolutely detach yourself from the project because it's not about you. It's like
Yeah.
you're telling stories, and it's like it's bigger than you, like the project
Yeah,
itself, right?
100%.
And like I think to detach yourself is to look back and be like, actually, where does the project need to go? Because I think that's where you're kind of at in the sense of
Yeah,
like
yeah. Always evolving. Yeah.
where does it develop further? Like where is it needed? But I think, but you have to still have like a level of attachment to it in the sense that like
Yeah.
But I feel
it's
like
that
it doesn't
passion
right
and
now.
that drive that drives you, like that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't really be like,
Yeah. I'm attached in that level. Yeah. When it comes
Yeah.
to drive and things like that, I'm attached
Absolutely.
to that level.
But you would know these sort of things though, because I'm sure there was a time there's been, you had the extremes as well.
No,
where you were like
100%.
proper like attached to it, and then you
100%.
like you just had to let go
100%.
completely because there was no way around it.
Yeah.
you know what?
It would kill you, like-
the really funny thing about this is that like I've unintentionally hindered things from happening
Okay.
because I've been too attached to it, right? Because like I can sometimes be like too much of a perfectionist, right? And then also I'm a perfectionist. On top of that, I'm hard-headed, right? So like when I want something done, I want it done the way I want it done.
Stubborn. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I have this vision.
It's like I get it.
I
Yeah.
know what I want to, how I want to do it, and I don't trust anyone to encapsulate the vision that I have.
Ding.
So, so basically, I'm just gonna do it when I have time. Like I don't wanna. Do you know what I mean? And actually, like it's understanding that sometimes you just need to let this go.
Yeah.
You know, because what you're doing, like it's timely, it needs to be done now. You don't have the capacity to do it, and somebody else does, right? Somebody has a vision for it, but their vision might be different. It might even be better than mine, right?
Yeah.
And it's just trusting, be like, khair, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But like you have to trust somebody else with it. And yeah, like I've like had to like check myself, being like, yo, I almost didn't let this happen because I wasn't in a place to set it up. Do you know what I mean? Or I wasn't in a place to do it. And there's like a thing of, I think it's also ego as well.
Big time.
Do you know what I mean?
Big
It's
time.
100% because you're like,
Big time. Big time.
if it's gonna
Yeah.
have my
100%.
name on it,
Yeah.
it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
People have
and it's
to
gonna be
like
good
it.
because it's gonna be good because I have the vision of how it's gonna look like
Yeah, yeah,
or what
yeah.
it's gonna be.
Yeah. People
You know
are
what I mean?
saying you're
Yeah.
a pioneer, and then okay, how do I explain this? So when I started this project, like
How did you start the
It-
project?
when?
How?
Oh, how? Well, good question. Yeah, I was.
Back in 1994.
I was with a friend of mine.
He's walking
and,
down the street.
I took a photo of him standing sideways. The project's called Somali Sideways.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I took a photo of him standing sideways, and then I don't know what it was, but in my head I was like, let me take photos of Somali standing sideways in London at the time. And then at the beginning it was a photography project, so it was like edgy, quirky, yeah, it's a bit
Oh, yeah.
different. Yeah, people might just see, what's this? It's cool, whatever. It's
Sideways.
a trend. Let me do it.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I was thinking.
Yeah,
so I was like,
yeah.
let my friend be the guinea pig of the project. So then I told him about this whole idea, and he goes, bro, that is so weird, man. Like, who
Love
would take
friends.
photos of sideways? Like, bro.
Wait, so when was this, by the way? When did you?
This was 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, 2015. That's when I started this whole project.
Yeah.
And then I was like, how am I going to go about it? So then I started messaging people that I knew in London. And then I was like, by the way, don't ask questions. Like, meet me at this location. I'm going to take a photo of you sideways. What?
I'm so done.
Excuse me. I'm like, yeah, bro. Like,
Just do
I'm
it now.
yeah, just don't ask questions. I'll explain
Just turn up.
when we meet.
Just turn up.
All right. So I took a photo. So I went to different
some good
like
friends.
landmark venues in London,
Yeah.
like Victoria Albert Museum, British Museum, Richmond Park, all these like
Yeah.
well-known places.
Mm.
And then I'll take a photo of them sideways, like guys and girls, Somalis both. So I was like, okay. And then they were like, so what are you gonna do this for? I said, oh, I'm gonna share it online. Why? I said, oh, I'm doing a project. Okay, but what's the
project?
main, like, why are you gonna take a photo of me sideways online? Oh, the project's called Somali Sideways. And by the way, I'm all waffling at this point.
Yeah, no.
Because you don't even understand the vision.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't even
it's an
understand why I'm
idea.
doing it. I was like, this is cool, let me just do it. So people kept asking me questions and I would just like waffle along. So then it fast forward to like 2 years and galleries were like, hey, like we want to print your photos and put it into like on an exhibition format. I'm like,
You what?
sorry, what? You want to print my photos? Yeah, we'll print it for free. We want to like showcase your work for a month.
An exhibition, yeah.
I'm like, all right. I'm like, so what do I do? Because I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so who do I send the photos to? Do I need to come in or like, do I need to actually be there physically? Like, am I going to be like that guy Batsky, like not show up? Like, how does this work? Like, am I going to be mysterious? I was thinking like, what should I do?
I'm not going to be mysterious.
Yeah.
I love that.
I was like, what should I
Mystery
do?
artist.
So then I didn't show up. And,
You're mysterious.
Yeah, so I was like, let me just not show up. And basically, I did show up at the end, the last day.
Okay.
So the last day, I showed up, and there was a lot of people there because there was other works that were being shown on that day. So I was like, it makes sense for me to show up. Let me just show up. So me, my turtleneck, trying to be an artist, starts rolling. And I'm like, yeah, oh, you Mohammed? Yeah, that's me. Oh, you're the guy that did Somali Sideways? Yeah. So then there's these like white people that are there and they're basically, some of the stuff that they were saying, till this day, I don't understand it. And they
Yeah, I
were
work
like,
with artists
they
now,
were
I
giving
understand.
artist language.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
They actually speak our
so
own
I
language,
can
you know?
see like the way that the image waffling. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, bro, you're right. I'm like,
done.
yeah, you're right, bro.
That one right there.
Yeah, I was like, bro, you're spot on. And then he was like,
That's exactly what I was thinking
Is that
too.
what you thought? I'm like, we were thinking the same.
If I didn't know better, I would say you were there.
Wallahi, I was living a double life for a while. For the first 3 years, I was living a double life. So I was in the area with my friends, you know, typical banter, whatever. I meet all these white people. Yeah, so thank you for coming, and I really appreciate you being here. Please have some coffee, and I'm trying to be like, I was just living a double life basically.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That actually is
So, wait,
crazy.
so when
but it's funny
did
though.
when did it go from a photo project to a book?
Yeah, so this was in 2018, and before then I was doing a little bit of traveling to Somali areas. So then I would share my project online because it gained momentum. I was like, hey, I'm in Minnesota, for example. If you guys want to be part of the project, come through. And I would say the project kind of kicked off when I took a photo of Ilhan Omar.
Okay.
And this was when she was like a council woman version here,
Okay.
but over there they get paid for it.
Yeah.
So
Councils get
it's
paid
like
here
an
too.
actual job,
Councillors get paid here too.
like a salary.
Part time, yeah.
Oh, but over there it's like full-time salary, like it's actual work.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like everyone's like trying to get in. So she was trying to get in, and I was like, I sent her a message. I was like, do you want to be part of the project? She said, yeah. Are you in Minnesota? I said, yeah. She's like, yeah, let's take a photo. I'm like, all right. Where do you want to do it? On the road where I live. I said, isn't that a bit like
Yeah, that's
a bit
dangerous.
suspect or whatever? He's like, no, like all the houses are like pretty much like similar. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. I didn't know that. So then basically we were on the road, at the end of the road, and like we took a photo of it, and then I shared it online, and she shared it, and that's when the project kind of just went basically beyond my control.
Yeah.
And people started DM me stories, people taking photos of themselves sideways. I'm getting images from
Amazing.
different places, China, Somalis in like Costa Rica.
That's lit.
I'm like,
Yeah, we're
this
everywhere.
is too much, man. I can't do this.
I did not apply for this.
And whenever things are overwhelming for me, I switch off. I like either go to
Oh.
sleep or I'm like, I'm like, yeah. I just turn off my
100%.
phone. I'm like, yeah, you know what?
What's that? What's that? What's that?
I
What's
need
that?
to live my life, man.
I want to take a nap.
Yeah,
I
I'm
wanna-
like,
100%.
yeah, I'm just seeing bing, bing, bing,
Ding, ding.
airplane mode. Knockout.
Real quick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Real
So
quick.
then after that, fast forward to 2018, I was like, the project was a bit like on a limbo. It's like, I can't keep like doing
I'm
photo
sorry.
exhibitions.
What is the project?
You're taking the mic. You're actually taking the mic.
No, I know he took pictures, but is that just it?
No, Somali Sideways is a project, right?
Yeah.
But he's written 2 books, right?
Okay.
Sorry, I never
No,
gave
but-
context to
No,
it.
you read. Yeah,
No, but like-
I'm talking
but
about
all-
the books. I'm
thi-
talking
this
the
entire-
actual project because like
This entire thing is a project. Like Somali Sideways is the project itself.
so the pictures you took.
The
Yeah,
pictures,
it's
the
part of the
stories,
project,
the encapsulating, like all of that is what he's referring to as the project.
Because you took the pictures first. That's what I'm trying to understand, like what the actual project. Because you took the
It
pictures
was a photography
first.
project in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you
And
made
then-
the books
And
after.
then I made the books after, yeah.
And then you start getting stories from people.
no,
I started getting stories from people
And
and,
then
then
he made
made
the
the
books.
book.
And
yeah.
then more books.
Yes.
No,
yeah.
no,
No. One book first.
let's implement this.
Yeah.
photo project,
Yeah.
right? Then stories come in, which then turned into
But you said you made a story before the
no.
because you only got big after you took a picture with the.
Yeah. And then people
And
started
Roma.
sending me photos. So before I
stories.
was doing it, and then
Okay.
people started
And where did you
submitting
get the
them.
stories from? Like, where did you go? Like, these people you're taking pictures of?
Yeah, so I would go to like Canada, where Somalis are based.
That's what I
Sweden.
wanted to. That's what I wanted to know. The
Oh.
back, because like you went from taking pictures to
Sorry.
going big and getting stories. So I was thinking,
Yeah, yeah.
well,
No, but he said he was doing some traveling. He did some
yeah,
traveling.
I do some traveling too, Sam. I don't go around talking to people. Thank you very much.
That's a
I
lie.
thought he was just.
I've been
I thought
traveling
he
with
was
you, and
just
yes, you do.
traveling like in general.
Yeah.
I didn't know like.
Okay.
Okay, so you're actually traveling and meeting different people.
Yeah.
Where you went.
Where?
That's what I want
Oh,
to
sorry.
know.
My
That's
bad.
what I want to know.
Should have given you context. My bad.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
basically, the whole purpose, you're probably
Yeah.
wondering why is this guy taking photos of Somali sideways, Somali standing sideways. So the whole purpose of this project was to change how people view Somalis.
Okay.
That was the whole purpose of it.
Okay. Yeah.
And that happened.
Is that what it turned to
yeah,
become?
turned to become.
Yeah, because when you
So I
first
didn't know,
started,
and then I
it
started
was
adding
vibes.
1 plus 1, and
Beautiful
I started,
though.
It
Why
was.
you
It went
said
from.
it's
It went from
beautiful?
vibes
yeah, basically
to a real
like,
purpose.
Yeah, real
Yeah,
purpose.
because like
yeah.
you didn't know what you were doing.
I like that.
You
I
were
didn't
just
know what I was
doing it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because
I
a lot
didn't-
of people nowadays it's like we need to have a plan. Everything has to be planned and set on stone and whatever.
Yeah.
Like you didn't really like I just have this feeling. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
I
with
like-
it.
I like what I'm doing.
Friends, I don't care what you think. Just go with it. People,
Yeah.
go with it, and we're gonna get there somewhere.
Yeah.
And then it became something.
Yeah. So
Which
then
is-
from taking photos, and then I started thinking like, okay, let me get the storytelling aspect to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So before it was just photos, I was like, if someone were to look at the photo, like even
What would
me,
they-
like if I were to look at a photo, I'd be like, so what? Like,
What are you
am I
writing?
looking
Yeah.
at? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there was a backstory with it, then it would have some sort of meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that's when I started doing it,
Looking the stories.
and then sharing it online, things like that. And then Ilhan Omar popped off, and then around 2018, the idea of having a book came about, which was like a bit shocking because I didn't know how it worked, like publishing, and I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So then a friend of mine told me this idea. He's like, bro, why don't you do a book? And I'm like, that's a good idea. And you know, whenever I think of books, I think of like these big publishing companies like Penguin and all these. Exactly. So I'm like,
Literally,
do I have to sell my soul to like get this book out? Like, how does this work? Do they get more of the royalties? How does this work?
yeah.
And I was so
It's actually very
confused.
complex.
I was so confused.
People make pennies from books usually. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, you know what? How do I go about this? So then I went on Facebook and I made a status and I said, hey, like, if any of you know of any publishing houses that is willing to publish my book, come
Let
to
me
me.
Let me know.
Some guy messaged me. His name is Mohammed Arton from Leicester.
Oh, okay.
So he was like, bro,
Come through.
I run a publishing house. What are you doing? So I'm like, bro, I don't know. Like, have you not followed me? Like, why are you asking me what? I was so confused.
Oh, were you that kind of person already?
I was like,
he was that
bro,
guy.
You know who I am?
He said, I'm
I mean,
popping
for
right
me,
now. You
I'm
don't
the
know who I
type
am?
I'm the type of person, like, if someone were to, like, I'll look at the person's profile and I'll be like, oh, what does this guy do? Whatever. Have some sort of idea.
Yeah. If you're going to comment on the status, you're going to look back and like, what's he talking
Yeah,
about?
what's this guy on about?
Yeah,
Click
yeah,
on his
yeah.
profile, yeah. So
I
then
get
I
that.
told him anyway, and he goes, okay, bro, basically my books are focusing on Islamic studies, Quran, and what else did he say? Somali history and culture. So I said, okay. So you can't do my project then, basically. And he goes, why? I said, bro, look at the things that you're focusing on. Mine is nowhere near that. I have women on the like photos that are not wearing hijab, things like that. I'm like, bro, I can't, like, nah, it just contradicts what you're doing.
Not really. That's how
But
you
that's
viewed
how
it
I
at the
thought.
time. Yeah.
So I thought, like, I don't want this guy to get cancelled. I don't want to get cancelled. I was like, nah.
No one gets
And then he was like, nah, it's okay, bro. Like, this is something that's unique. I want to do it. And
important,
you've
yeah.
never published a book, so let's see how it goes.
Yeah, let's work together.
So I was like, you know what? That was my mentality when I did the project at the beginning.
Let's see how it goes.
One more won't hurt. So then, like, we
Doing it
were
for a
like,
while,
you know, creating the whole book, chapters,
Yeah.
everything, trying to organize it, and you know, front cover, back cover, all that stuff. And then so around mid 2018, it was ready. And I thought to myself, shall I share it? Shall I not? Because I'm the type of person, like, you know, obviously, like, I'm no longer anymore, but I was a proper perfectionist, like to a point where nothing will get released, basically.
Yeah.
So that was me, and I'll be like, no, it's not ready, it's not ready, it's not ready.
Self-critical.
Yeah.
So then I was like, you know what? I looked at it, I was like, the main thing is there any grammatical errors?
Yeah, 100%.
If there are none, share it.
100%.
So that was my mentality. So I
Yeah.
went through it myself. I had another guy to go through it.
Yeah.
I had another guy as well from outside.
That's
He
good.
read it.
Multiple
And he's
people.
like, bro, it's all good.
Let's
Release.
Release.
So I released it on Amazon, on all platforms. And then this idea of someone sent me an email, was like, hey, we want to organize an event for you, a book event. And I said, a book event? Because in my head, I was like, sell it online. That's it. Like, just carry on with your life.
Just walk around.
Yeah, just walk around, carry on with your life.
You need to do events.
And then they were like, why don't you do a book event, book signing and things? I'm
That's how
like,
books sell.
book signing? Who would want to get my signature? It's like, what? I was so confused. I was like, okay,
It's like
how many
this.
copies do you want?
Did you go sleep?
Yeah, I was like, do I have to sign? Okay, how many books do you want? Oh, we want 100. I said, okay, 100 books. How do I do that? Because if I do it through Amazon, I'll be on deficit. Like,
Yeah.
'cause each of the book, I think, the first book was like £29. So if I had to get 1,000 of that, I don't know, my maths I haven't been a while, but
Way
that's
too
like
much.
2,900 something.
Yeah.
Who's gonna do that? So I was like, okay, but then this idea, one of my friends, brilliant idea. Until this day, I still use it. He goes, bro, why don't you order author copies?
Oh.
Author copies
What's that?
are
They have
a
no
fraction
thingy, yeah.
of the price of the book. Hence why it's called author copies. So you as an author are ordering copies for yourself.
Yeah.
And then you sell it off at the price that you set it at. So then obviously you made a profit. And that was a big game changer for me.
Okay.
So then that's when I started ordering author copies. So I'll be paying like small amount.
That's interesting. I've never heard of that. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm
Same.
So then you would
I'm not
order
an
author
author,
copies.
so
So if
I'm
I'm
not-
going,
Yeah.
so just in case you want to write books or whatever,
Yeah.
author copies, depending on like which route you're doing it in, whatever, it will normally cost a fraction, like maybe a quarter of each book. So you're paying a quarter of each book, and the price that you're paying in is obviously like a lot, not a lot, but like much more than what you're paying for.
Yeah.
And then that's how you make money. So then when they were like, in my head, I'm like, 100 copies.
Oh yeah.
Ding, ding. So then that's when I started like
Smart.
organizing events, people
Yeah.
inviting me, go to places, get 100 copies, 150, 200, go. And it would just be me and my flipping suitcases with books. Every time I go to the airport, they're like, so what's in here? Why is it so heavy? I'm like, bro, it's books. No, I don't believe you. He'll open it up, he
Yeah,
goes,
yeah, yeah. Always
it's
carrying
actually
books.
books. What the hell? All right.
Oh yeah, that's actually the tough thing about being an author, like carrying books all the time.
Carrying books all the time. Yeah, it was, but that was how it came about, of doing that. And then I released another book that focuses on the stories of Somali women,
Yeah.
because majority of the people that were like I interviewed, 70% were women.
Yeah.
So in my head, it made sense for me to do another book solely focusing on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then here we are today.
Do you think your book kind of like preserves culture in a way by like telling those stories?
Yeah, it definitely does. So my main purpose of the photo book was not more of artistic way. It was more of a sense of like Somalis from the diaspora expressing how they felt about being Somali. And with that, you would get so many different types of stories because like of the location that they're in. So a Somali that's in London will have a different aspect of what Somali Nimo is to a Somali that's living in, I don't know, Kenya, for example. So then that was when like people were expressing themselves. And then I separated it into different chapters. So like Somalis, I would talk about travel, education, business, entrepreneurship, family life, civil war, and things like that. So then I would split it up. But yeah, like everyone like was talking from a specific angle, but their stories were different. And that was my main objective, like to get the stories that most people will relate to and create the most impact.
Because you know what? I think the interesting thing is that like a lot of the people that I've in your book are, I'd say like a younger generation, right? Not like not the elders. And so, and I think to a certain extent, a lot of them are, even their stories and like some of the things that like their viewpoints, right? Is, how would I put this? Like, it's essentially like us as a diaspora, we have a very different understanding and experience and like of the Civil War and like what we remember about it, what we know about it, like even like our lives and the way we see it. And it just reminds me of a conversation that we were having earlier, even like when he said like it conflicted with that guy's like like what he was doing. It's a thing of like actually like what we perceive to be our culture, what we perceive to be like our essential identity, and then how that sometimes conflicts with values that we've built, right? And like, and it's weird because like I don't know how your identity can conflict with your values, because actually those kind of should sit hand in hand. But there are times where I feel like my culture conflicts with my values.
May I ask like in what aspect?
What your culture? What is your culture?
Okay, that's good. I'm trying to.
I think maybe like in a sense of like, okay, yeah, you can make the argument that Islamically, yeah, there's certain aspects within our culture. Islamically, it's like, whoa, bro, I don't know about that. That's, you know, are you sure you're Muslim? Yeah, so in that sense,
it's because you know what it is, right? I think our culture, like Somali Nima, is there's a lot of it in like what we do, the kind of things we do, like within like tribes, or like the way, like we're quite nationalist, right? Like that's very a thing that's embedded in us, right? And I'm not. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie to you. As much as I love Somalis, I love being Somali. I'm not one of those people that will like bear the flag, or like I'm not a nationalist on my root. That's just not who I am.
Paint your face the flag.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not. It's not me. I'm not about that. I'm not about flags at all. But the thing is, right, and I think it's a thing of like, I think that's a soft example actually. There's a lot of things actually, even like culturally, like the way in which like the role of women is perceived, like what women are able to do, like power, like that women can hold, women can't hold. Like the reality is, yeah, like within my values, and I think this doesn't conflict with Islamic values, it conflicts with my cultural values.
Okay.
Right? So like, because the reality is as a Muslim woman, right, I am able to do what I'm doing without no issue. But like culturally, as a Somali woman, a lot of things that I do is questioned, you know? And it's like, oh, you're not fulfilling the roles of a woman by like being in positions of power, or like, you know, chasing your career,
leading and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there are times where like this culture that I'm inherently so proud of, you know, that I identify with, I'm like,
is it really
not that part?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But do we get to pick and choose like the bit of the culture we take on, and and how do we deal with it when it like conflicts with our own identities? Of like, or like, I guess the identity that I've shaped now as Zamzam, like growing up here. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a interesting bout. I don't know if it's the same for you, because Angola, Portugal. Yeah,
It is.
actually, knowing your mum.
Of course, yeah, of
Actually, yeah.
course it is. Like I feel like, in a way, like I feel like when you're a woman, I think it's similar. Like in any culture that you go to, we have a lot of
Yeah.
similarities, because in the end of the day, you are a woman in a
Yeah.
men's world, so
Cultural
it's
expectations.
bound to 100%. Like the expectations are there. The structure is there, and the moment you try to like get out, and it's not even men that will put you in your place, it's
women.
yeah, that will be like, nah, like you probably spoke with a lot of them, so you understand like
Yeah.
how it works. So yeah, within the Angolan culture, 100%, there is a lot of clashing
Do you
between
ever
your
feel like?
values and
Do you ever
the
feel like
culture.
though, like for yourself, you've ever felt conflicted in like navigating like the expectation that you're like, I guess society has of you, and then your like culture, like family, friends, whatever that is, like have of you?
Honestly, I never had a hard time, because I was always like
A rebel.
a big mouth. Yeah, my family, like, because like in Angola, it's not as much now, but before it was like the woman were to do the cooking, put the food on the table, the men were to sit down. Like, I hated that. Like, I used to fight. That's one of the reasons that I didn't cook. Like, because I was like, Mom, I'm not gonna do it. Like, this isn't me. Like, every time, like, you had guests over and the men were sat down, the women were doing, everything.
Yeah.
I hated that so much. And I was like, nah, like, I'm against this. I'm not, So I always fought against that. So for me, it was never a problem being like, nah, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of people that have pressure, and they're like, sooner or later they just do it.
End up doing
But
it.
I wasn't. I had no problems telling my family I'm not gonna do it. But it's that kind of thing that you need to realize, like, when it's okay, you're doing it because you're going against them, or you're doing it because you actually think that it's not part of what you want to take into your life.
True.
Because you have to learn to cook. You need to live.
It's a
For
it's a
yourself
life skill.
anyway.
Exactly.
For
Life
yourself.
skill.
Yeah, 100%. But it's like learning to balance that. I think that's where the conflict was. Like, realizing that, nah, I get where you're coming from, but you're not really fighting it right. So let's straighten up a little bit.
This is true. Do you know what? I think the interesting thing is, like, I remember there's times where I felt like annoyed, like our culture, right? And there's just things that are like become normalized, because like Somalis are like very inner people, like very involved, right? And so the community, like, and I say this with like the utmost love of my Somali community, right? But like, people are just way too involved in each other's business for no reason, right? and I think, and this is how I've grown, I guess, differently, right? In the sense of like, I guess growing up in the UK, like, we've learned boundaries. We've learned to create boundaries. Do you know what I mean? There's respectful boundaries, and like there's certain things that I have to remind myself, like, okay, she's a Somali auntie. She means well. Do you know what I mean? Because they insert themselves into your life, you know, and ask like really personal questions. Like, I remember this woman like asked my one of my cousins, when are you gonna have a baby? You know, and I'm like,
Islamically,
you know what I mean?
That's absolutely offside.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, you have no idea what this person's going through. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
she could be going through something difficult. She could be like, and it was the kind of thing that would make me usually with anyone else like check them straight away, right? But you're like actually it has repercussions actually if I check them, right? Because I'm now disrespecting an elder, you know. I'm like, and then it has repercussions not on me but on my family, or like the kind of woman my mother raised, you know, the kind of like daughter like my father raised, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of like things that like repercussions. You just have to be like, I'm gonna hold my tongue, and also just remind yourself she actually means well. She doesn't, you know what I mean? That's the ironic thing. They mean well. It's just that like that's normalized. That's okay to them, but it's not okay to us.
Yeah,
because we have boundaries. They don't have boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's just things like that that like grind on my teeth. Like, even Allah Yarahmah, like when my dad passed away, and like people just posted in our house, and I'm like, what are you doing? Just leave. Do you know what I mean? They would come, and they'll be like eating, and I'm like, why am I serving you?
Makes no sense.
Do you know what I mean? And it's things
Especially
like that.
my father passed
It's like,
away.
and had I been like had I been the Zamzam, like the real Zamzam, I would have been like,
everyone
Stop,
out.
stop, get out.
Yeah.
You've paid your respects. Thank you. Make dua for him.
But get the hell
Appreciate
out.
you.
But get the hell out of my house.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm grieving. I want to be with my family. I don't want to be around all these random people.
Random people,
And I understand they have to come, right? Khair.
Mm-hmm.
But don't come
Tripod stuff.
and ask for share
No,
and biscuits and like sit in my living room, you know, like talking about random stuff. Like that's
Yeah,
what they
that's
do.
what they do.
And
Yeah.
there was literally like hundreds of women
Yeah.
in my tiny living. I was so annoyed. I was so angry.
Yeah.
And then I watched like one of my other family members go through the exact same thing when like one of my elders passed away, and I was like, this is actually one of the worst qualities of Somalis.
Yeah.
Like, because they come so entitled. It's like you shouldn't even be eating at somebody's that's grieving's house.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's sometimes like I find myself like
And I heard
angry.
Islamically it's not allowed to, or something like that.
it's not okay. No.
Yeah.
So
But it's
like,
not
okay.
just
So that's the
Somalia
thing.
though. It's Angola is the same thing. You know, I remember like my mom was like, "Oh, you have to call this person. You have to call that person. You have to call." I'm like, my dad passed away last year as well,
Peace with
and it was like, I have to call who?
Yeah.
Nah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's fully not gonna happen. You know what's the worst
Yeah,
thing?
that's a weird thing actually.
A few weeks after, I was speaking to these people that she said that I had to call, and like after like I was speaking with them with my grandma. My grandma was like, "Oh yeah, her dad passed away," and they were all like, "Oh, why didn't you call us?"
Yeah, that's the
and it's
weird-
like
that's
that whole
weird.
conflict of like,
Gaslight you.
It's like, am I supposed
it's
to call
not
you?
even gaslight. It's more of like, because they were like the point they made was right. It's like, how are we supposed to know? We didn't know. We wanted to talk to you. Wanted to come to you. You know, to see you, to hug you, to make sure you're okay. And like, I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's like, yo, he passed away. Like that's
Life doesn't revolve around you.
exactly. Do you know
This is
like
the weird thing.
like
But you know what the funny thing is though? Like, there's a cultural expectation of like what you should do when something like that happens. Like,
Yeah.
like and
Yeah.
it's weird because like I remember like having to have conversations like with family members and because I had to, you know what I mean? Especially because like I'm like the eldest daughter and like there's people in my dad's family that I needed to speak to and and I had to have these conversations and and I didn't want to have any of those conversations. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wanted to block everybody out. But like it was like a duty that I had to do.
Yep.
You know, it's like a weird
100%.
thing.
yeah.
And I hate that about our culture. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate it.
There's still until today like there's still like duty like to call like your family to make sure they're okay and,
Yeah, and
and
that's
I'm
fine.
like, why can I not call me? It's a huge family.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
why do I have to like, you know, like it's the whole thing of like, Nadia, you don't understand, like, you know, they're your family. And I hate when they put it's your family. And then what's is that supposed to mean something?
Yeah.
They're your family, like
Yeah.
what's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I
You
think
know,
it's
like-
different.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Even within mine, it's like cousins that's come out of the blue. And I'm like, bro, I don't know you.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, but he's your cousin. I'm like, so what?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Like, he's your family. Okay. What else? Like,
Your point.
yeah, what's your point?
You got a big family. What else is new?
I'm like, what? I don't get it. So yeah, so I understand. Yeah, I understand fully. It's like a lot of the time, whenever I'm getting told about, you know, oh yeah, he's your cousin, whatever, and it only happens. I know this. It just came to my head now. It only happens when I'm traveling. So say for example, I'm just gonna use the same example, Minnesota,
Right. course.
biggest Somali population.
Yeah.
So every Somali has someone related that's in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Definitely, somehow, some way, is someone there. So I kind of expected it, in a way. But then in my head, I kind of tuned out. I was like, yeah, no, who cares?
I'm
I'm here for a purpose.
If I don't know them at this age, I don't
It's
need
too
to know
late.
them.
Yeah, it's too late. Yeah.
I have
No
that
big friends here,
mentality.
man. At
Same.
this age, no. We've come too far, man.
Wallah, exactly.
Yeah, I've come too far, man. Why am I big friendly at this age? Nah, man.
It's all right.
So then, I was in Minnesota, and then my dad calls me, and he goes, "Oh yeah, so and so, like you have to meet them." I'm like, "All right." I'm
Do
here
I?
for an event, like, but I'm not here to like play
Meet
around.
people.
Yeah, I'm not here to
Play around.
socialize. You know, I have an event here. I've been
Serious?
invited. I'm just doing
I'm
here,
here on business,
and then
Dad.
I'm out. Yeah, like I'm not here to like see little kids and whatnot. So, so then, so I was basically, long story short, I was forced.
Of course, yeah. Oh,
I had
yeah.
no choice.
There's always that
So then,
side.
so
there's
then
no choice in
I
this.
saw them,
Bully
whatever,
you.
blah, blah. And then, yeah, it's just like the 21 questions. One, you're not married. What's it called? Like, what are you doing here? And all these, like, there's a trick. So I learned this. So basically, when people ask me a question and I don't want to answer it, I flip it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Flip the script. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, so I heard that I just start waffling. So then I direct the conversation, go somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do that with people. Like, if I don't want to say certain things to a
Yeah.
particular person,
Pivot to something else.
I'm like, yeah, move it. So then that's what I did. I started pivoting, whatever. And then they would call my dad and be like, hey, like your son is like very mysterious. Like he doesn't want to tell more about himself, but he wants us to tell everything about him. Or like to him. And he's like, why is he like manipulative and things like that? And then I told my dad, and my dad is like, yo, what's going on, man? Are you all right? And I'm like, Avo, I did that on purpose. He goes, okay, did you?
I don't know them like that.
should
I
know
ain't
me
trying to get
by
the
the
I said
backstory.
to him, Avo, with all due respect, like,
They don't have to know.
Yeah, like, we're related by blood, but doesn't mean we're...
You know what?
It's that time,
forget
yeah.
blood though. One of the things I've always found fascinating, and like I admire about like the tribal system, is that like regardless of like where you find this person, you were like they're from the same tribe. Like there's like this like instant like connection of like they were separated at birth. They're like family. It's the weirdest thing to me.
Weird,
Like honestly, I remember like I was at a wedding somewhere in Leicester. Like it was something like a random wedding as well. Or Birmingham, I don't even know where it was. And this woman like was talking to like one of my aunties or a cousin, somebody, and she must have told her what tribe I'm from. Like that's my dad's tribe. And she was like, oh, meet. She's like, I'm your auntie. Da, 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 da. She came like literally like lifted me as if like I was like her long lost daughter. And she was like, oh my days. Da, 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 da. I thought we should have the same energy for every Muslim. What is this?
Exactly. Only because, oh yeah, you're from that same tribe.
Same
So we can
tribe.
connect.
Is that like the way honestly, and it was just like, how long are you here for? I want to host you at my house. Da, 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 da.
And you're thinking, who's this lady, bro?
I'm thinking, lady, you're very sweet. Like I'm good. I'm very good.
It's funny because like we don't like have tribes or anything, but in Angola, like if you meet like your grandpa's friend or your auntie's friend, and they tell you, oh, this thing is niece. Oh my god, like it's the same way. Like it's like this whole massive thing, like, you know. But you know, it does happen here in the UK. If you meet someone from Angola, that's normally the reaction. Oh my god, you're from Angola as well.
No, not generally Somalis here.
But that's amazing, though. Like, if you meet someone who's from your country
Yeah.
and you're reacting that way.
But it's the
Fantastic.
tribe,
But with
though.
us,
It's the tribe.
Somalis,
No, we don't
it's
care.
like it's a specific tribe. So
It's like-
you could be from another tribe.
Because tribe is the family, isn't it? That's like how they see it.
Not really.
You're from the same tribe, you're from the same family.
Yeah.
No, but you know
Because
what? Yeah.
within your
We
family,
will
there's
walk past.
branches
Well,
out.
they walk past another Somali. They walk by like nobody's business. Like it's not. They don't acknowledge each other. At least Angolans will like acknowledge each other as Angolans,
Yeah,
right?
you guys
We're
are
not acknowledging
Angolans.
each
So
other
we
as
don't acknowledge
Somalis.
each other. We walk past each other.
But it's like,
Oh, do you?
Like 100%.
but it's the thing
How
of
many
like,
times have we said this? People speak Portuguese at normal.
yeah, but you always get Angolans and Portuguese are very, very. I don't know. Anyways, that's a different conversation. Brazilians, all of that.
It's a whole tribe.
But like, I just mean in the sense that like, they won't like we don't rate each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you could be from a
yeah.
tribe that massacred like a particular tribe that person is from. And they're like, no,
That's
I can't
it.
be friends with you.
Yeah.
Why? Did I do something wrong? No, it's not you. It's your grandfather.
Your
Like,
great grandfather's generation.
Yeah, they massacred us, our village.
They massacred us.
Like, but
So
that's
I
his
can't.
decision. What's that got to do with me? You think I'm gonna massacre locals in Acton? Like, what are you saying?
But
What
you
are
know,
you
it's the
talking
thing of like, it's like, do you even know my perspective on it? Like,
Yeah.
do you think I'm out here? Yeah, I know he did great job.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, of course I'm against. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But it's actually really sad because it's one of those things where subhanallah, it didn't happen long ago. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, and one of the things that like I'm consistently reminded of is that like it is our parents' history. It's not like our great grandparents' history. It's our parents' history. They're the ones that fled. They're the ones that lived through. So the memory is still like it's fresh. It's still new. It's like the wounds haven't healed from it.
Yeah.
And
I
it
think
passes over.
but I think
you're not
what
careful.
upsets me is that like when the wounds are so raw with kids, like young people. Like, you were born here. Like, why do you hate me?
You've never been back home
Yeah.
as well.
No.
These people have never been back home. They probably don't even speak the language properly. And they're like, oh, yeah, I don't want to be like raping a particular tribe. But Hubbard Eunice, yeah. I'm like, bro, like, what do you know about Hubbard? What do you know?
Yeah,
do you even
yeah.
know the reason where your tribe comes from and all that? No. But Hubbard Eunice.
Yeah, honestly, it annoys me because I'm like, actually, learn this.
Represent.
Yeah.
Somali's history is actually very rich, and like the tribal system itself isn't a bad thing, right?
No, it's
It's
not.
it's a very important thing, but I think it's the way we've used it now that's become
Yeah,
dangerous.
it's
But actually,
absolutely disgusting.
in itself, it's actually a beautiful preservation of our history and like
Yeah.
our roots and who we are and where we come from, and it's amazing to have that. Like in
It's
how
been
it's being
tainted.
used right now,
Yeah.
tainted.
Like you could be told, oh yeah, like where you from? Someone will ask you where you from, and you're like, yeah, I'm from this tribe. Oh, it makes sense. Excuse me.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
makes sense exactly.
How does it make sense? Oh, you have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
look. You're like, you look like
Not
someone.
even
from
like the
that.
mannerisms.
Yeah. I'm
I'll
like,
be like,
what?
they'll be like, I'll say something, I'll do something, and be like, oh, you're this tribe, and I thought so.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean?
We get that as well, especially people from Angola. We get that, like everyone, like every like different country from Africa or even like different city.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "You're from Angola, aren't you?" I can tell. We get that as well. Like,
Prejudice.
yeah, it's like
But yeah.
we're big-headed or something like that. It's
Yeah, it's probably
you're from that. Yeah, I can tell.
I can tell.
Oh.
Is
It's quite
Angolans known as big-headed?
Man, I don't know. Like I'm just a chilled person. That's all I know.
We need to
But
bring
for some reason,
we need to bring some more Angolas on this episode.
however, I feel like we could go on and on and on about culture because, be honest, is huge.
That's true. It's a big topic.
However,
It's a big
what
topic.
has been the conclusion, guys? What is the conclusion of this episode? What have you guys learned?
Well, I've learned that we create our own like identities based off like different parts of culture.
We choose and pick.
Yeah, and I think actually like we don't necessarily have to be a part of like holistically our
Preserve.
culture,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
preserving our history is very important. Preserving our like knowing our language,
Yeah.
knowing our roots, where we come from. To
Yeah.
me, that's very important, and I think that defines my culture. And I think now after this conversation, actually, I think the way I see my culture, I see it as different, completely different to everybody else's, and that's because my combination of my culture is different to yours.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I've taken away, Nadia.
Okay.
That's
What
my
about you,
lesson,
Mohammed?
though.
What have you taken away from this conversation?
Honestly, like the way I see it with culture,
I need to
like
carry
there's
on doing
nothing
this.
wrong with like you picking and choosing things that is relatable to you. You don't have to embrace it all.
Yeah.
If it doesn't suit you. But one thing I would like always tell people is like as much as like you take the good and the bad, because
Yeah.
all cultures there are good and bad apples within
Yeah.
them.
Absolutely.
100%.
So you just have to navigate it and see where it fits with you and embrace it. But at the same time, it's like, you can't just like acknowledge the good and think like, oh yeah, this is my culture. You have to
And
acknowledge the bad
acknowledge
as
that,
well.
yeah,
So you have to
100%.
acknowledge both sides and
That's
just
true. That's
carry
very
on.
true.
Yeah, because that's the good side came from the bad side and the bad side came from the good side. So
Exactly.
therefore you can't
Yeah.
separate both. Damn, Nadia. Jeez.
Nice one.
Whew, felt that.
Yeah.
Do
But
you have
thank you
anything?
so much.
You have anything to add to it before you wrap up? have you taken away?
Honestly, like it has been beautiful learning more about your culture. Of course, like I always learn with Sam, but I feel like I've learned a lot more. So it was nice having, meeting you and learning your story. Your story, like how you started for me was definitely the highlight. Like,
yeah,
that
I
was-
didn't even know that.
I'm
Actually.
like,
Really?
I didn't
Yes.
know that either.
love that. No
Yeah.
planning. Me.
Good
love
vibes
it.
have started and then just
Good vibes.
Honestly, I love that. So I'm definitely gonna take it. That
Still in Copsilixy, good vibes. Figuring it out.
yeah, and I hope you carry on because I feel like what you're doing is definitely like amazing, especially when you're able to connect with a lot of people and be the voice to a lot. So that's really cool.
I appreciate
So
that, man.
that's definitely something that
Nadia wants to know when you're starting Angolan sideways.
Nah, I'm thinking about no. I'm
Angolan
connecting him.
sideways.
I'm connecting with him, and I'm gonna start
like-
an Angolan sideways.
It's like my
'cause
side profile is ready.
honestly, nah, it will even be a sideways because knowing Angolans has to be a front ways with them. You know, they don't do no
I see.
sideways. They want a front way.
All right.
They have front way behavior. But 100%, like I love that. I llove the idea. I loved everything, which is really cool.
No. Thank you
But
guys
yeah.
for having me, man.
Thanks for coming
This
on.
has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
It has been a pleasure.
Like and subscribe, the Flop Squad.
Hey,
Yay! He knows. He
You already
knows. This is what
know.
you learned today. This is what you need to take back
'Cause I
home.
recently got into YouTube, so yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This
I-
is it.
You're a YouTuber now.
Welcome.
Not
A whole
really.
YouTuber, an influencer,
Influencer.
an influencer,
I hate that word.
sideways influencer.
I actually hate that word as
Yeah,
well.
I
I hate that word,
man.
influencer. Anyways,
because
guys,
you're not.
thank you so much for sticking with us to the end.
Yes.
And we'll be back again in
Yes.
2 weeks. Well, it depends actually when you watch this video.
Yeah.
But we
True.
upload fortnightly, every
Yeah.
2 weeks.
For now.
But yeah, thanks again. Like, comment, subscribe, as Mohammed said, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Woo.
Bye.